Hey, Sint. How's it going? More microtones posts? Nice. What one are you doing next? Yeah, that's how it goes when stuff is always like shorter to explain in your head than actually properly explain. Okay, so I'm gonna get started. So this week what I'm doing is I am attempting to learn Unity and hopefully port my particle sim that I had written in Rust and OpenGL to Unity. Basically because I want to spend more time trying out cool stuff and less time being frustrated. So I'm trying to use Unity because it does more stuff for me. And I think it'll be just like easier to play with artistically going forward. So yeah, I'm gonna start with a new project. So my plan is to basically replicate what I had before, get a full screen quad just drawing a texture, and then a compute shader that is writing to that texture. Oh yeah, I don't think it took that long to install, so you could probably get it going pretty quick. Update check. I would not like to update Unity during my Twitch stream, thanks. Here we go, okay. Alright, so, I have played with Unity the tiniest little bit years ago, and I think it's changed a decent amount since then. And I have like absorbed cultural knowledge about things about Unity. I never really used it for real, so I was doing a bit of reading last night, trying to get set up so I wouldn't be totally lost. Yeah, I don't know. I guess. Yeah, I mean, really, they're just copying some directories. I don't know why it takes that long. Anyway, my basic understanding so far is that there are scenes with game objects in the scene, and then there are components or behaviors, I'm not sure which one people call them more often, attached to each game object. So each game object is like a bundle of components that have state and event handling. My audio interface just died and made a loud pop. Hope it doesn't keep doing that. Anyway, so here's my starting scene. I'll just leave it as is. So what I started out doing when I was playing around last night was just create an empty game object in the scene, and then add a component to it, which is a C# script, and I'm going to call this particles, I guess. And then on the game object, I will add the component scripts particles. So here we go. I don't have any properties on it yet, and I have Sublime Text set up for editing this. So as I understand it, there is a start function, there's also an awake function, there's also an onEnable function, and then there's an update function, an update fixed function, which is called with fixed time steps rather than variable time steps. Oh shoot, let me try replugging the webcam then. Alright, recreating my webcam self. Okay, hopefully that stays working, and hopefully my USB hub doesn't keep dying. Okay. So the thing I need to do is get a quad mesh drawing at full screen. I'm probably just going to do that using C# rather than trying to do it as an asset or something. Okay, the sound is working. I think I might have to recreate my... Yeah. Recreate my video device again. Okay, hopefully it stays working this time. Okay, we should be good. So back to my particles behavior. So what I'm going to do, I think, is in start, create a... I think in awake, actually, is what I should do it in. It doesn't matter for now. Okay, how do I create a mesh? Meshes. Okay. Unity provides a modeling tool. I wonder if it's any good. Procedural mesh geometry. Okay, here's the mesh class. Okay, let me get a member to hold onto the mesh. Call it quad. Assigning vertices, then assigning triangles. What is a mesh filter? I guess I need a mesh filter to render my... Okay, let me just copy this example and see if it works. So this will fail right now because I don't have a mesh filter component, so let me try adding one to game object. Mesh filter. And I think it can be none because I'm setting the mesh in start. So I create a new mesh. I set it on the mesh filter. Set the vertices. Set the UV, set the triangles. I won't have UV for now. I guess vertices is probably like a property. Oh, that's sad. Yeah. I didn't pay attention to how big it was. Let me... You guys get to see my lovely downloads flutter. The installer's only like 50 megs, but yeah, I guess it probably downloads a lot more. 6 gigs, okay. Yeah. I remember the times when my main machine was a MacBook Air with a 256 gig SSD. And 6 gigs would have been a problem back then. So I feel your pain. Okay, I wonder if I can just directly assign like a array literal to these. Let me see if I can do that. See if this works for now, and then... Okay, compiler error. Maybe I actually should set up Visual Studio so I can get errors. Actually, no, it'll open to the correct line. That's nice. Apparently not. It will just... Okay, how do I do a array literal? 128, that's tight, yeah. Forgot how to make arrays in C#. Yeah, you just gotta put the type before it. Okay, so in the case of vertices, that's gonna be, yeah, vector 3. And triangles are just int. I feel like I am expecting to have a pretty okay time with C#, because it lets you control when things get allocated or not a lot more tightly than Java, at least, because of the value types. Where's my syntax here? Line 11. So I guess it's still not liking the array literals. Oh, I gotta do new, of course. Okay. I mean, that actually makes sense. Okay. Is F5 play? Can't see. Anyway. Okay, it worked. So at least this is running. So let me just do some array of int. So yeah, let me have 4 vertices and 2 triangles. The triangle indices will be, I have that memorized. And then, do you use new on structs? So it feels weird to me, but I guess it would make kind of sense. Oh, they can be instantiated without the new operator. But new just calls the constructor, right? Like, it doesn't actually allocate it. I mean, it allocates it on the stack is what I mean. Okay, so new vector 3, and then I can show me vector 3. New vector. Okay, yeah, you call new vector 3. 4 of these. Let's do. Does C# require trailing decimals on the float literals? Okay, I'm going counterclockwise. In normalized device coordinates, -1, -1, 1, -1, 1, 1, -1, 1. What is hyper file? Okay. Did not compile. Cannot convert from double to float. Do you have to put an F on it? Apparently you don't need the zeros, but you do need the F on it. Pointo means double, okay. Which I guess is a convention going back to. Oh, that makes sense, yeah. RAM dump for sleep mode. I guess that's how it is in C, right? Pointo is a double. Okay, so it's working, not doing anything. I have my mesh filter and I'm setting my mesh on it. However, there's no material. Okay, creating a billboard plane procedurally. Texture coordinates. Yeah, let me do texture coordinates. Okay. Mesh.uv equals, and then these will just be vector 2s. And And then inside here it will be same thing, counterclockwise. Okay, final script. Does mesh filter let you like do materials, or like how would I? How do I get my mesh on the screen? Installing, nice. I'm gonna turn down the heat by 1 degree because it's pretty hot. Alright, we back. Okay, shared material equals new material. Okay, let's see if this works then. And I have a feeling that these should actually be in screen coordinates, but let me just see. Oh, mesh renderer. Oh, okay, there we go, yeah. So mesh filter is not enough. I don't fully understand what mesh filter does as opposed to mesh renderer. I guess I can just set the material on here, right? Okay, let's see what happens. Miku.db. Is that the Vocaloid database? Oh, it's adding the mesh renderer, so I do not need it. That makes more sense. Oh. Okay, now it works. Still can't see it, though. But it may be too tiny. So let me do this instead. Okay, nothing happened. Shader material standard. Okay, obviously I'm just missing something. Okay, what could I be missing? Oh, width and height is just one in this example. Game object is in the scene. Hey, that's something. So I guess my camera position is just wrong for seeing it. Yeah, so it doesn't show up here, but if I look in my scene while the game is running, it's gone. Where'd it go? Oh, I guess it's just tiny now. 100 was a good idea. Okay, back to my scene. There we go, little guy. And where is my camera? Main camera. This guy, so he's like pointing. Someday I'll figure out how to use the camera controls in here. Oh, one thing is that the winding I think is opposite. So let me just change that. 0, 3, 2, 0, 2, 1. I think should fix the winding. There we go. Okay, so it's not full screen. Let me just take it back to what it was originally. So like -1s for these. Okay, tiny boy. I don't know what Z it should be at for it to be. Okay, actually, probably what I should do is make a new material so that I can control the vertex shader. So, how do I like clone the default material? Is that something I can do? Create material, shader standard. I guess I need to create a new shader too. Oh yeah, and Unity groups together. Oh, that's classic though, right? Like, that's backface culling. It's just so that you don't draw the insides of a mesh, right? Like, if you draw a sphere and you don't have it perfectly, I mean, even if you do have it perfectly Z-sorted, you'll still be drawing front and then back and then rejecting it, versus if you can reject the triangle entirely because it's facing away from the camera, then, and that's pretty much standard in 3D rendering, in real-time rendering, so. You can turn it off. I would not know where to turn it off in Unity, but in OpenGL it's just like a flag you turn off. So let's do standard surface shader, and I guess it should have the vertex part in it. Yeah, okay, I don't know anything about Unity's like CG shader directive stuff. So we have properties. How do I add a vertex shader to this? Let's Google Unity vertex shader. How do you tell it that is the... Oh, pragma vertex vert, pragma fragment. Okay, I don't want pragma surf then. Let me just delete this. I don't want a surface shader. I want a unlit shader, which I think will be what I want. Yeah, vert and frag. So let me just... Yeah, or maybe you did and then you just never found out why the thing wasn't drawing. Okay, let me see if this works though. Shader. Unlit. New unlit shader, that's me. And then game object. I'm gonna add component for the mesh renderer instead of creating it programmatically. It's gonna be get component. And then I don't need to set the shared material. Actually, I don't need any of this at all because... Okay, so I set the material on the mesh. Do I set the material on the mesh renderer? Or do you set it on the mesh itself? Like, why is shared material not a property you can see? Oh yeah, it is. Okay, material. So let me add new material. And then the shader is new unlit shader. So yeah, let's hope my rectangle is white now. Yep, cool. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so I have a quad. It is not full screen yet. My plan was to make it full screen in the shader by probably just getting rid of this stuff. Or like... and maybe I can just pass V directly, but I don't know. Comment that out for now and see. Bad things are happening. It turned cyan and then disappeared. Not getting any errors. Okay, so what can I... Let me look up Unity object to clip position. Does it, like, have messed up normals and interpolation and stuff? It's easier, that would be easier to debug at least. Technically, you could have a debug mode in OpenGL where you, like, check, because you can check the triangle winding in the shader, like, GL winding? I think it's GLSL get winding. I think it's called, yeah, GL front facing. So if you could branch on GL front facing in the shader, and if it's back facing, like draw it as fuchsia or something, and if def that out in a release build, and it would maybe be useful. There might actually be, because like Unreal has all of these debug visualization shaders, so you can do things like visualize out of range PBR properties, and you could totally do that for like a back face triangle, I think. Okay, Unity object to clip pose. It takes a float 3 and gives back a float 4. I don't know. I know more about GLSL than HLSL when it comes to this. Okay, let me just do float 4. And then UV should be transform text. Please tell me what transform text does. I would like to see this file. I'll find it later. So it multiplies it by... Okay, but it's not a different dimension. It's the same type of vector, so it should work. Line 44. Okay, they don't like that. Oh, the incoming vertex is also float 4, so like, it actually should work. But it doesn't. Okay, what does Unity Transfer Fog do? Actually, yeah, let me find this on GitHub or something. I think I would get fired for not knowing Unity. Okay, apply fog is what I'm looking for. Okay, calc fog factor core.x. So I need to set the color, so let's just do, that makes sense. I wasn't even assigning the color, so. Float 3. I mean, it should be invalid subscript RGB. Oh, it's O dot. Apply fog color. Okay, transfer fog calls. Oh, it just sets the fog chord. No, apply fog is... Okay, I was mixing those two up then. I don't need to transfer fog, I just need to replace this with... And I'm not going to sample a texture either, I'm just going to say... Fixed for just a... bytes. In any case, okay, that's not working. Okay, undo everything. Still there. So I guess what I just need to do is, instead of Unity object to clip position, see if this works. And my positions are -1 and 1. Man, this is kind of a mess, I have to say. Why will nothing I do work? See if I get rid of all the fog. Does it still work? Okay, there we go. Don't need fog. Still working. So I have a vertex and a UV in my app data. UV and a vertex in my varyings. Beverage check. Vertex shader. I just want to be setting my vertex to like I just want to know what space I'm supposed to return this in. Like I was assuming it's Unity object to clip position, which right here is going to look up Unity full screen quad. This is what I need. I should try one thing at a time. Okay, so now let me go back to the scene and see where my thing ended up. And when I don't do that, it just disappears. I don't know where it goes. It's not that it's back-faced, because it's not visible from the other direction either. Has anyone ever successfully created a full screen quad before? Wait, yeah, I assume post-processing already does this somewhere in Unity. Nice. Congratulations, Sint. Although, I guess that's in the pipeline stuff, which I am not using right now, I guess. It's kind of confusing. I guess I just could call graphics.lit and not bother with this, and it'd do it for me. Is the Unity source on GitHub? Or do you have to like pay for source axis. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure it's actually easy. I'm just missing something about the shader macros. Maybe it's just that my Z is in front of the near plane. Let me just make the Z be 0.5 instead. Okay, that's not it. Okay, so let me find out where unity matrix VP is. Is that a uniform? Yeah. Okay, I'm getting close. I wish I could just print this out. Okay, so the matrix is transforming into clip space, which is -1 to 1 on X and Y. Is it? Oh yeah, platform-specific rendering differences. In direct 3D, the clip space goes from 0 at the near plane to 1 at the far plane. Yeah. But otherwise, the X and Y are the same. I just wish I had some like printfs or something, because I cannot tell what the matrix is doing. I have a stupid idea. I'm lerping between the untransformed value and the transformed value to see what it's doing. Even just having the live reload here is like single-handedly a reason to keep using Unity, I think. I mean, it's not that much slower than a uniform if I can just save it and it immediately changes, right? It's pretty nice. So like untransformed, it's like below the view, and then also so I'm overriding Z and W, so it's just X and Y that are changing. So it's just the Y's that are wrong. I have X's correct. Okay, so I'm just trying to figure out what my Y's are supposed to be. This is so confusing. Because like clip space is -1 to 1. I'll be right back. No, shader files are, it's HLSL inside the actual shader functions, but overall this is like CG, which is, if I mean, I could be wrong, but I think that's refers to Unity's like this whole stuff like shader properties, subshader pass, and then inside here is these structs and functions are HLSL, but then outside of it is like Unity's way of like bundling together multiple shaders into one. So, and HLSL is the one that's used in Direct 3D as opposed to OpenGL. Oh, okay, so, and is all of this CG, like this is all NVIDIA's stuff? And then just like the macros and stuff are Unreal, are Unity, that makes sense. Okay. And then yeah, it gets compiled down to GLSL or SPIR-V or Metal or whatever, depending on the target API you're running on. There we go. We can ditch the matrix now. Somehow it's only half the screen instead of full screen. But I'm closer. I broke it. Oh, because I have these in the wrong order. Duh. So somehow that was what it needed. I feel like part of it might be off the screen. Yeah, it is. Okay, this will help figure it out. There we go. So let me just negate these here. two CGs. Okay, there are two CGs, one from Microsoft and one from NVIDIA. And Unity used to use the Microsoft one, but now just uses HLSL. That makes sense. It's confusing to me why people always refer to CG/HLSL. I wonder if it's configurable, whether you can use CG or HLSL, or if that's just historical. Shader Lab Declarative Language. Okay, that makes sense. Well, I don't know why I needed to negate it, but here we go. I have a full screen quad. Okay, gotcha. There is only one CG. But why my fan be spinning when I draw a full screen quad, though? Don't really know why that's necessary. Okay, so now what I need to do is the texture is going to be an int32 texture that I'll probably create programmatically in my behavior and then write to... I guess I could also have it as a property instead. Let me look back at my material. Okay, let me see if I can do it just with an asset. So let me create texture. Texture. Are there no textures? What is going on? Okay, well I'll just do it in the thing here then. Steam Audio. Does Steam Audio work? Is it just called that, or? Like, is it bundled in Unity and you can use it outside Steam? Yeah, spatial audio is cool stuff. Eventually I want to try doing writing some of my own spatial audio engine stuff. But also I would like to just play with some existing middleware for it. I'm curious if... So it works with Evmod and will work with Wise. My thought was that those already had spatial audio capabilities. I guess not, maybe though. HRTF and reflections, yeah, cool. Lewis, I saw a post somewhere on like a forum about VST3 standards for audio plugins saying, please can we get up to 64 audio channels for the... I don't know what order of spherical harmonics that would be, but yeah, for like high order ambisonics. Which I think didn't work with their bit flag based channel API thing, something. Yeah, I mean, I assume pretty low order goes a long way for that. But yeah, imagine just churning through 64 channels of spatial audio. yeah, I really do want to play with HRTF type of stuff. Okay, so back to what I was doing. I need to make a texture and a compute shader and render to the texture with a compute shader. So, textures, custom render textures. I don't need a render texture, I just need a regular texture that I can write to in a compute shader. Texture types. Is there like a texture component or something? Is that what it is? Alright, well. Oh yeah, this has a texture on it. I guess there's no like create texture, but there is import texture. I guess I should just do new texture, right? New texture 2D. What arguments? Just size. Okay. Well, I guess I should fix my screen resolution somehow so I can have the particles particle rendering match it. Okay, so I make a new texture 2D. Just do 1920 by 1080 for now. And then the mesh renderer should have see if that compiles. Okay, so I guess the texture is gray for some reason. I don't know what data is in it. Okay, I have my texture and it seems to be working. That was very easy compared to doing it from scratch in OpenGL. So, okay, let me make a new compute shader. ray tracing shader, nice. Rename this to I think it's funny that I have, because people use CS as a extension for compute shaders, but I'm editing my CS file for C#, and then, okay, so, my compute shader, let me look up how to use Unity compute shaders again. Okay. Here's an example. So you call dispatch. I don't really know how to fetch references to assets. I guess it's asset database.find assets. Okay, maybe I need to import asset database. Oh, maybe that's not what I want. Oh, you can just use a serializable field. And then you hook it up. So I would go here in my project to the particles behavior, which has a, oh, it's on the game object. My particles behavior has errors. Get rid of that. Man, the live reload is so nice. I guess sometimes you have to manually. Script is missing? Oh, I didn't rename the class. There we go. So game object, particles, compute shader, bind this to render particles. There we go. And now I can just call dispatch on it. What arguments does dispatch take? what is the fourth one? Dispatch takes kernel index. Oh yeah, so there's just multiple kernels. So 0, and then 1, 1, 1. That's what they do as well. Let me just comment out anything in here because I don't actually have a texture to bind to it. See if it runs. Why would you be warning me that a serialized field that I'm setting in the editor will always be null? Is that what it is? The reference script is missing. What are you talking about? Is it missing though? Add component. Scripts. Particles. Oops. Move up. Move up. And then compute shader render particles. I do not know why this error is happening. Okay, so it's still rendering properly. So I have a compute shader. It's letting me call it. It's doing nothing. But the way that I'm going to use it is by setting the texture. I'm going to hold on to this as well, I think. Doesn't need to be serialized, I think. Oh, you have to call new texture to be from. You can't call it in the constructor, I guess. You have to call it from start. There we go. Okay, no more errors. So, I compute shader, enable random right flag. Okay, so it needs to be a render texture then, in fact. Can I just replace texture 2D with? constructors, render texture. It takes width, height, depth. So no depth buffer. Color format is, I want it to be in 32. rint, that's perfect. Okay. We have our format, and then read write should be oh, it's because it's linear SRGB. Yeah, let's just do default. Well, no, it should definitely be linear. Definitely should not be sRGB. Okay, so that should compile. Missing something. Oh, R capital I int. So that's working. We have our new render texture. We want to call enable random writes or something. Yeah, enable random write. And then we want to set our compute shaders property. Set it with cs.setTexture. Kernel index string name texture. So it should be 0 for the first kernel. The name is result. Okay, and we're not writing to it at all. So let me see if I can get the whole thing turned. Actually, it's... Wait, yeah, I am setting my materials main texture to this texture. I feel like it should be starting out with zeros, so why is it starting out white? Oh, I mean, no, I am sampling the texture. compute shaders. Let's go to the one before that. Oh, they're not even using textures, I guess. Oh, sad, Sid. Well, I will hopefully get this working pretty soon, and then I can show you and walk you through how it's working, because it's a pretty small amount of code already for, like, how close it is to what I want it to do. Like, this is like 40 lines to set up a mesh with a texture and a compute shader to write to the texture. And the compute shader is, like, pretty approachable, to be honest. Like, it's you just, like, give it textures and buffers to read and write from. So yeah, once I get more of it working, I can send you over the example, and it shouldn't be too hard to figure out. Yeah, you totally could do the camera-facing quad without C#. Basically, yeah, you could have a mesh with these vertices in it, making it exactly fill the screen like this required editing the vertex shader, but you don't need C# for that. You could hook up the shader and the mesh in the editor. So yeah, this part is strictly unnecessary to be in C# for sure. Actually, dispatching the compute shader has to be done with C#. But yeah, last time a long time ago I experimented with Unity. It was pretty unclear, like, how everything fit together, and I think spending enough time with Unreal, to be honest, has, like, by analogy, kind of made it more easy to figure out. But yeah. Make Unity consider different property. I'm setting the main texture, and it's just not reading from it. And, like, maybe it's the wrong format, but I would expect that to be giving me an error or something. Render texture. I don't know how to make sure it's reading from the... Oh, already created, so I have to set this beforehand. Oh, duh. Very dumb mistake here. I was just setting it when it was null. It's still ignoring it though, it seems like. Like it's just using this. It's not actually using the... I don't know how to make sure it reads from the texture. So the material it's using has the shader. Maybe I can create a render texture asset. How did it say to do that? Assets create render texture. Render texture, there we go. And then I can set the size of this and everything. On my material, this texture I will set to particle texture. And now I don't need to do, I can just do serialized field. I don't have to create one anymore. I do have to set the compute shader texture, but I don't need to set the material texture because I'm setting it here. It's 256 by 256. Let's see if it works. Yeah, okay, so it definitely is reading from the texture node, so that's good news. I don't know what I was missing before. Yeah, nice, I like that. There's this big drop down texture formats. Okay, and it is R32 uint is what I want it to be. I mean, I could do R32 float. I'll just do uint. Oh yeah, it has to be uint for the atomics. There we go. Variable texture of particles has not been assigned. Oh, I can yeah, I don't want a serialized field. I want to get it from, no I do, yeah. What I will do is this, so I don't set it on the material. None. But on particles itself, I set on the component in the game object, particles script, particle texture. There we go. Hopefully it still draws black. There we go. And I can Well, that's correct because the default is white and it's drawing black. So now I am dispatching. Let me make it be 256 by 256 to match the texture size. And then in the shader, I will just set it to I guess probably in 32 max. So let's just do like 4 billion, right? Yeah. Okay, so that's not working. Maybe I need a barrier, or maybe it's not actually setting the texture for the compute shader. Wait, yeah, it's supposed to be in 32. I wonder if I can like inspect the texture. Hard to know what's going wrong here. I mean, I guess we can do a regular old texture. Try this. And that's working. Okay, good news. We have a compute shader writing to a texture and then rendering it to a full screen quad. Although something looks janky about it, but at least it's working. Oh, and it does let you inspect it. That is very nice. That's the result. They have this little Sierpinski thing. XOR Sierpinski triangle, whatever. run full screen. Project settings, player, per platform. Let's see how long this takes to like fully run. I mean, it's a lot slower than running an editor. There we go. Okay, it's just black in game. So that's frustrating. What changed? Is there a way to make just the editor play full screen? You can see the stuff in the corner. Okay, let me change the texture resolution to match the screen. So something is wrong with the way it's drawn. That is weird. Maybe I need a barrier. Fence or barrier. Graphics fence. I don't think a fence is what I want. That's what it is. Wait, no. Nothing needs this except blend operations. Let me go back to that view shader example. They don't have barriers, seem to be fine. Oh, they're not writing to a texture anyway. What is sint as opposed to uint? Oh, signed integer. Okay. Sint, yeah. Textures. Materials, shaders, and textures. How do you declare a texture to use in a shader? Okay, we got an error. just need to know how to like actually use a 32 uint texture in a shader. That might actually be working. No, it's white regardless. I think it's using the default thing. Why is it not actually reading from the texture? I'm setting them all to 0. So the texture should be black. Maybe I'm not setting the texture properly. That might be working finally. No. Okay, is there a different type of sampler that you need for an integer texture sampler? Sampler states. Not recommended to use. Well, I have to use them. So. Here's my dog. I gotta go calm him down.
Buddy, it's okay. It's okay, bud.
Oh, he's barking again.
Buddy. It's okay, bud. Calm down.
So it's reading 0 from the texture. Because if I delete this, it becomes white. What is text ST? Alright. Thanks for tuning in, Sint. I guess you can catch Hubble on the YouTube, on the VOD. Oh, so that's just the texture scale. Okay, that makes sense. It's still just getting 0 out of the texture. And I mean it. The inspector is showing it as all zeros. Let's do it as float. R32 float. Okay, so that's working. So it's just not working with the ints for now. So I'm writing 1.0 in the compute shader. So like somehow I need to tell it okay, let me just write 1 as an int and then set this to be R32 uint. It's reading 0. Does sampler state need to be int somehow? Wait, this might just be a very low value. It might be 1. Let's try doing unorm and set it to what is it? Is it char? Is it uint8? Oh, just uint? Is it short? Scalar types. Uint, is there u short or something? Okay, so that's working. That is not working. I don't get why it's working to write it as a float, but not as an int. Cannot sample from non-floating, so I don't want to sample get texel. What is it for just fetching a texel directly? Texel fetch equivalent is okay, no matching 2 parameter intrinsic. Possible intrinsics are text 2D, sampler 2D. Oh, it has to be a sampler 2D, yeah. Oh yeah, okay, you can't do that then. I guess there's just not support for int textures. This is so confusing. Maybe I can just use it like an array. So it's letting me index it. Okay, so that's all I needed. I don't need a sampler. I can just access the texture like an array. That makes sense. But how do I write to it as an int inside the compute shader? Oh yeah, load may have been what I needed, but I think this is working now, so why is it 0? I'm writing to it 1, and then I'm fetching from it, and it should be 1. There we go, that's it. Okay, so now let's do R32 uint. Perfect. Figured it out. Okay, I have everything I need. Now I can start doing the actual particle rhetoric stuff. Took me about 2.5 hours to figure out. So not actually a time improvement over figuring it out with OpenGL and Rust, but there's a lot less code here, and it's got live reload, so I do think I'm going to stick with it. And now that I've figured this out, it should be really easy to like set it up again in the future. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, this is finally where I want it, I think. Yeah, I can write 255 to the int texture, read it out, and that gives me full white. If I put 127, it'll give me half gray. Perfect. Okay, I'm out of energy for actually doing the particle sim, so I will continue porting the particle sim next week. But I have a full screen quad drawing from a uint32 texture, which I am writing to in a compute shader, which I'm pretty happy with. Okay, Hubble still needs to make his appearance for anyone who's still watching, so. Yeah, I do need a Hubble amount. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. He's having a sleepy Saturday. Sorry, bud. Dog champ emote. Anyway, thanks for watching me struggle with Unity for a couple hours. Next week I think will be less struggle. Okay, buddy. Alright. Signing off.